today will be another one of those times as Aaron Rodgers reports for mandatory minicamp.
What am I supposed to do?
You are embarrassing yourself here, lads.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Here We Go podcast. We're actually under the Steelers Sanctuary umbrella now. Back again from the dead, Colin Phillips. What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem, man. So a little bit of news. So first of all, we've not gotten to react to a lot of stuff going on right now. So let's start with this. Aaron Rodgers is officially a Steeler. What were your thoughts?
I couldn't be happier. I really I had so many good things to say. I mean, we'll definitely get into to kind of the reasoning for it, but that's my favorite quarterback of all time. So I couldn't be happier. I think it's an immediate upgrade over Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I don't think there's a single human being that could ever deny that. I think from a physical standpoint, he's in good shape. I know obviously he's gotten some grays since his prime, but I have no worries about that. If there's probably three quarterbacks ever who probably could have played in their 40s, and that would be probably Brady, Breeze, and Rodgers. So
now, were you one who kind of wavered? Because there was a lot of people who were like dead set certain he was coming here, others that were on the fence. There was some people who just never thought this thing would materialize. Like, where were you at throughout the process?
I mean, I feel like I always kind of knew that he would, right? I mean, I know that's like kind of a crystal ball bullshit kind of thing, but like, I don't know. Part of me always kind of thought he would. I was always pretty much 75% chance at least that he would. I knew he'd kind of make us wait, and frankly, did it make a difference? No. Like it didn't make a difference whether he waited till preseason week 1 or before the draft. I really didn't think it made a difference. So.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, if you've followed this guy throughout his career, this isn't surprising. He was always going to take his time with this. He's done this throughout contract negotiations with the Packers. Anytime he's flirted around with any type of retirement, it's always kind of been something that he's taking his time on it, and it's always drug out throughout the process. So I wasn't really surprised. I really honestly didn't waver. It always just kind of felt like he was going to end up here. His options were limited, to be perfectly honest. The Minnesota thing, I wasn't sold because number one, if you're Minnesota, you spend a really high draft pick on a quarterback who you lost for the season due to injury. You figure you're going to probably try to see if that investment pans out before you go after Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career. So I didn't think it made sense for them. Aaron, I kind of wondered the weapons that they have, quite honestly, are pretty goddamn good. Like he may want to consider that, but at the end of the day, this, he and Mike Tomlin have always had this like bromance between the two of them playing against each other over the years. So like, it just always felt like it was a match that was about to happen. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it kind of felt like a combination of things. Number one, when the Giants ended up signing Russ, I was like, oh shit. Okay. Because I thought the Giants were a fair option for him. And then like they ended up signing Russ, and then we didn't draft Shador like first couple days. That's when I was kind of, because he was available, obviously, and
Sure.
Tomlin, whether it was coach, speak or not, talked very highly regarding him. So pretty much when those two things transpired, I'm like, yeah, I mean, eventually it'll be Rodgers. We're gonna have to wait, but there was no way that they were going. And I don't know if you listen to this guy, John Middlecoff. I'm a huge diehard fan of his. I listen to his podcast pretty much every day, every other day, and he pretty much said the same thing. He's like, listen, from March 1st, there was absolutely no chance Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to come to Pittsburgh. Like, and there was no chance that we were going to go with Mason Rudolph as our starting quarterback. Like, that just wasn't going to happen. Now with this defense, now with the investment in the offensive line, now with trading for DK, all that, extending Freiermuth, whatever you want to say, I never saw it being Mason Rudolph. So glad it was Rodgers.
Yeah, and they had their opportunities, right? I mean, they could have gone after a guy like Sam Darnold in the offseason. They could have went after, Shador or whoever. I mean, basically they had their pick of quarterbacks after Cam Ward was gone, and they didn't go after any of these guys. They didn't attempt to do this. You knew they were going into camp with 4 quarterbacks. They do it every single year. That left one guy. It left Aaron Rodgers. That's the plan A, plan B, plan C of the process. After the Justin Fields thing fell apart, I always felt like that was going to be the case. So it's just kind of interesting that it's gone this way. I never really truly bought the Shedeur Sanders hype. Like, did you even buy into that at any point in time throughout this?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I'm proud to say I did. I thought he was QB1 in the class. Now, obviously, I could totally see every reason why it took him to the 5th round to get picked. I mean, we all know the off the field stuff. And is he really that much of a football guy? No. And I think that really, the way that Pittsburgh drafted this year really does, and I know that's kind of off topic, but it really does speak to what they're looking for. They want football dudes. We all know Rodgers is a football dude, obviously, but sure. they want football dudes, and I don't know if Shore was that. Now, I thought he was a talented player. I think he could be still a really good player. I saw Robert's comment. I really hope he doesn't start for the Browns because I don't really want to see what the upside of that looks like. I hope they sit there and they're like, oh, Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett. But yeah, I really did buy into it. But again, I couldn't be happier it's Rodgers. If I had to pick between the two, if you told me on April 1st to pick between the two, I'm picking Rodgers every time. So
what about Aaron Rodgers, the player? I mean, where do you feel like he's at right now at this point in his career? What can he bring to the offense? And where do you see him ranking as far as the last 5 years in the quarterbacks that we've seen?
I mean, he's going to be the best, right? Like, 5 years back goes back to Mason Rudolph in 2019, Duck Hodges even. So that's not tough to beat. There's no way he's possibly worse than Pickett and Mitch. There's no way he's worse than Fields. He could be even with Russ. I could see him being even with Russ and about even. But even 2020 and 2021, Ben was horrible. So I think like absolute floor, he's on the level of Russell Wilson. But ceiling wise, I mean, yeah, I'm with Zachary. I think Zachary here, 2018 Ben, he's easily the best since then. I mean, yeah. I think absolute worst, though, he's probably Russell Wilson last year, but at least he could see over the offensive line. So, yes. I mean, that we got that going for us. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to be the best quarterback we've had since at least the last 5 years. Like it's not. I don't think it's particularly close because I don't think there was any chance that Russ really wasn't that good. He played very good against terrible teams. Defense. And he played one good game. I felt like he played a really good game against Washington. He had a really good game against Washington. Beyond that,
he did a good game against the Jets, I thought.
Yeah. Smitty is killing the comments right now. He's killing the comments right now. I love it. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that we're going to get our best quarterback play. And so let's dive into this. As an offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith has come out and said he didn't get to run the style of offense that he would have liked to have ran. Do you think that we see a change in maybe offensive philosophy now that Aaron Rodgers is here?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to just sit here and just say, yeah, he's going to go against his ways because we have to look at the facts. I mean, the Z receiver is still Robert Woods. It's literally like last year's roster from a weapon standpoint. I mean, we have our alpha dude going, obviously an upgrade. Let's be perfectly good. These are all upgrades. Okay, going from Pickens to DK, upgrade. Freiermuth to Freiermuth, upgrade. Van Jefferson to Robert Woods, upgrade. Calvin Austin to Calvin Austin, hopefully an upgrade, right? So we're looking at upgrades, but still, like personnel-wise, it's pretty similar in terms of what they want to do. They didn't keep Pickens and Pickens and Metcalf for a reason, whatever that reason might be, whatever. But I still think it is to fit within that Arthur Smith system. Now, I will say the two guys whose stock goes up in incredible number, Pat Freiermuth, I'm going to draft him in every fantasy league. I think he'll have a career year this year, or at least that's my expectation. Granted, he's had a pretty quiet career. He hasn't really been utilized correctly. I think that's pretty much common knowledge at this point. But I expect Caleb Johnson to be a better running back than Najee Harris was, hopefully. I will take down that jersey eventually.
I was about to call it out.
I have to get a replacement. I will eventually. I don't know if it's going to be DK or Rodgers yet. I know we talked last year about it being Patrick Queen, but he sucked last year, so I have to hold off on that. But that will be replaced, okay? But no, really. And I'm going to say it frankly. I made a tweet about it, and it got like 6 likes, which is cool. The whole season, as we know it, lies on 76 and 77, and that would be right tackle, left tackle. I think this team goes as far as they take us. Like I said, we're pretty much upgraded everywhere in terms of weapons. Better wide receiver 1, hopefully a better tight end if he's healthy. Better Z receiver by far. Better slot in terms of just depth in general. We're going from Calvin Austin and Benny Skronik to Calvin Austin and a healthy Roman Wilson. I mean, Darnell Washington hopefully is better. Running backs will be better. It's just really, we go as far as 76 and 77 take us, which is still kind of a scary thought, but I'm willing to go down that road. The defense is way better, and the defense is way better.
Yeah, I like your shout out for Pat Freiermuth, because I actually said for the first time since his rookie season, we may actually unlock Pat Freiermuth, because Aaron will throw to tight ends. He will throw over the middle of the field. Pat wins over the middle of the field. Like, this could be the first time we actually finally get some serious Pat Freiermuth and a look at what he's capable of within this team.
I hope. Like, I really do hope. I got that jersey last year for a reason. I want to see some Muth ball, dude. I love that guy, man. I think his stock up goes like crazy. I don't know how really. My one question that I was kind of waiting to ask you was, how much do you think Calvin Austin's stock really goes up? I would say it's probably going to be primarily similar numbers, right? Like,
I could see similar numbers because a couple reasons. Number one, I expect them to still make a move at wide receiver. I think they still try to get a guy, and I've been making the argument that I think it's going to come closer to cut down day. One of these guys from the Packers potentially could be in the room. There's some Patriots players. You could see somebody like that getting cut that maybe steps in as a Z receiver for us. Trying to think, there was another team I was looking at the other day that I can't recall who it was now. Had a pretty deep receiver room that I thought, there's some intriguing guys that are out there. But like, if they can get a guy, the Packers have way too many guys that they can't cut one of them. They can get value for somebody. So like, would you cut a guy like Dontavian Wicks or trade him for a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick or whatever? Like, I would trade away a guy like that. And that guy could be a step in and win quick off the line of scrimmage type of receiver that could fit in this offense. And if you're bringing a guy like that in, then you could see where maybe Calvin Austin's numbers don't increase. If they don't make any moves, though, you got to think he takes another step forward, because he or Roman Wilson are going to start logging some snaps out of Z receiver at a higher clip than what we saw last year. You're not really going to rely on Robert Woods the whole time, are you? At his age, guy had 249 yards last year total in a Texans offense that was better than ours. I don't know.
That's not saying much.
No, it's not. But that's what I'm saying. It's intriguing. If that guy couldn't really put up any production in that offense, would he put up much more in ours? And if Aaron wants to run this thing a little bit more wide open, and if Arthur Smith's going to adapt as an offensive play caller, like everybody talks about how he's this great guy at adapting, then you got to assume he's going to let Aaron Rodgers have some of his stuff that he likes to do and spread these guys out. And you might see Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson on the field at the same time in the packages. For
sure. I mean, and it's definitely like it's so weird to me just to think about it. Like looking throughout Aaron Rodgers' career, like obviously the first part of his career I was pretty young, but I remember his best years, right? I do remember his best years. Pretty much all of his MVP seasons I was up and alive watching football for. Except like maybe 2011 or whatever his first one was, but whatever. I mean, some of his best years I've been around for: 21, 20, 22, 2018, 17, 15, whatever ones his MVPs were. I think 16 won MVP. But I mean, regardless, like I really do think that like it's going to be really weird to see. This is his first time in a very 12 personnel heavy offense. It's
Mhm.
just going to be his first time like really having an elite tight end. Really,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. That's true.
Maybe Freiermuth might be close to Jermichael Finley in his early years in Green Bay, but I don't even think that. I think Pat Freiermuth fries Jermichael Finley.
Smitty.
I actually agree with Smitty though. I do think I do think Roman will be better than Calvin with Rodgers. But again, Calvin's pretty much ceiling is what he hit last year. He's about what
Dave
5.
has been all over this.
Not gonna
Jameson
happen.
Williams.
Never gonna happen. I think though that like you're probably Calvin Austin. Your best ever with Calvin Austin is going to be about 570 and 4 like last year. I think he had like 35 catches for like 570 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that's about the most you're ever going to get with him. But he also brings you stability as a punt returner and depth at the slot position. So take that for what you will. I probably agree with Roman and Calvin. I just think that from a personnel standpoint, Rodgers has never seen anything like this. Like even when he signed with New York, they had a bona fide beast in Breece Hall, bona fide beast with Garrett Wilson, and Tyler Conklin was their tight end. I mean, I'm interested to see what he looks like with a very not Aaron Rodgers-esque personnel grouping.
So I got to get into this with you because there's, depending on who you watch and who you listen to and everything like that, they're talking about Roman Wilson. If you listen to Mark Cabulli, he's talking about him being chiseled and jacked and all this stuff. And even Alan on Smitty's show with Afternoon Drive, he's talked about Roman Wilson looking bigger too. Already kind of built very similar to Deontay Johnson, very similar to Antonio Brown. We saw those guys had a lot of success on the outside in the Pittsburgh Steelers uniforms. Can Roman Wilson move outside and be the Z?
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, like comparatively size-wise, I mean, he's about the same size as Deontay and AB. Deontay might have an inch on him. I mean, AB was 5'10", 180. Roman Wilson's about 5'10", 185. I think he's 5'11", actually, 185. Deontay Johnson was, 5'10", 190, right? Like similar size-wise, but I think straight line speed, Roman Wilson fries them both. I mean, people forget that Roman Wilson was sub 4.4. He's like a 4.38 receiver. I mean, Deontay's at best a 4.57. AB was probably like a 4.55. Yeah. Like he's got a lot more speed than they do. It's just a matter of how good of a route runner are you, which by the way is again, they're in t-shirts and shorts, but his routes are looking great. That was my biggest thing on him when he got drafted, was how good of a route runner he was. He's got sure as hell hands. I don't see a reason why we couldn't believe that. I mean, PFF has him at like their 11th breakout star for second years this year. So I don't know.
I think with Roman Wilson, there's a couple things. Number one, the whole football and shorts and t-shirt thing, it favors these smaller guys. Calvin Austin was getting a shit ton of hype in shorts and a t-shirt last year, the year before that. Like, I mean, it's built for these guys. You can't really jam them. There's no shoulder pads if you're a DB to kind of, get your hands on to slow these guys down. So I do like to try to pump the brakes a little bit on some of this until the pads come on. I think my thing is, how easy is it going to be for him to transition as a guy who's never played? I don't think he even played the Z back in high school, if I remember. I think he's been a slot his entire life. How easy is that transition for him to now go from a guy who basically lost the majority of his rookie season to trying to slide into a position he's never played before in an offense that, he was a great blocker coming out of Michigan, and we demand a lot out of that receiver room to block, especially that Z receiver. We saw that from Van Jefferson. He fought through it for a while before he started getting better at it. Can he make that type of a transition his first full season in the NFL?
I think it's a little bit more seamless in what you're thinking. I mean, you're still looking at a guy who's coming from a system in which they run the ball heavy. They ask a lot of you as a blocker, and they're going to have you run a lot of crossing over routes, like very simple route complex. So I don't think it's that crazy. Now, lining up on the outside could be a whole different ball game, sure. Wrong, Kenny Pickett. But I don't know how. Like I feel like it could be a little bit more seamless than you think. I totally understand the concerns. This would be his first time pretty much playing a Z receiver ever. Um, I'm curious. I really got nothing. Haven't seen a lot of practice clips other than him running routes. I really couldn't tell you, but I'm really excited to see him. There's a lot of second year guys that I'm super excited to see this year. I cannot wait to see Fautanu play. I cannot wait to see Zach Frazier play. There's some of these guys. I mean, I'm pretty excited to see him up top of that list too.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's a lot to ask a guy trying to make his way in the NFL, but I also think this could play a factor into why the team hasn't necessarily kind of gotten anxious to make a move at wide receiver. I think they seem to really believe in the kid and believe that he can step outside into that Z receiver role. And then like Smitty is ridiculous. And step into that Z receiver role and just see if he can take it and win that job and not make them look back, save the draft picks moving into next year. I think there's something about that.
Oh God. Okay. I think you have a better chance of seeing Rock Taylor being a Rodgers guy. I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm. This is the most excited I've been for training camp since probably Pickett's sophomore year, 2023. Wasn't all that excited last year just because wasn't crazy about Fields and Russ. Was kind of hoping last year was a tank year, but then we started off 10-3, and me and you were like, "Holy shit, we could contend." And then that went downhill. So, but no, I'm pretty excited to see training camp. I'm excited to see how this receiver room plays out. I'm excited to see what receivers make the team and where the depth chart looks come preseason game 1. If we could skip to August, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And Lazard's a guy I could totally see us picking up as well.
Yeah, that almost seems inevitable, right? I mean, like, if they're going to make a move, he seems like a guy who's going to be high up on Rodgers' wish list. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys follow him around for good reason. Lazard's only had good seasons with him. He's not done anything without him. So, yeah, I think there's going to be mutual interest there for sure. He's a bigger body guy. I kind of wonder about the fit with him because, I mean, we keep talking about, if I have to talk about blocking one more goddamn time at the wide receiver position for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to drive me insane. But, that's what they're focused on. They need these guys who can block as wide receivers. So he definitely can do that. But like, how well does he really pair with DK Metcalf? Or, I don't like Alan Lazard. I just don't think he's that talented overall. I'd rather give Roman Wilson the shot than trade for Alan Lazard. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Well, he's a 3rd-round pick. I don't want to waste a 3rd-round pick. I mean, we do that a lot. We churn and burn with these, day 2 receivers all the time. I don't want to see him be the next one. It's pretty much a guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but Calvin Austin, I don't know where he's going to be come after this offseason when it's time to extend or cut him, or extend or not extend him, if you will. But I'd give it to Roman Wilson all day.
So you talked about the offensive line taking this team as far as this team's possibly going to go. You mentioned Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones. So let's focus on Troy Fautanu first, because I think he's maybe the least controversial of the two guys. What do you expect from him? He's going to get a full year starting at right tackle. Hopefully the injuries are past him. What are you expecting out of him this year?
Well, we know what he brings, right? He's kind of smaller in stature, but with fairly long arms, long limbs. Very extremely strong lower base. So that pretty much translates into, in the least, he's not going to get bull rushed. I think he's a really good pass blocker at Washington. I expect to see that. He's the tackle, the offensive lineman that I'm most excited to see this year. I can definitely dive into his metrics if you want, but he's only played 35 snaps as an NFL player. But what I saw last year, at least it was average. And I think what our buddy Flip said, if these tackles can at least be average, I think we're in a really nice spot. I really do. What I'm most excited to see with Fautanu, though, how is he going to be as a wide zone blocker with Caleb Johnson? Because Caleb Johnson and Arthur Smith are a match made in heaven in terms of schematics, but as a run blocker, Troy Fautanu is not necessarily that. I think he'll be a great pass blocker, but I'm more excited to see what he looks like as a run blocker, kind of on the same side as McCormick, because we might do a lot of wide zone runs to the left side if neither of them can figure it out this year.
Yeah, for sure. I was super high on Troy Fautanu in that draft, and I never thought we had a chance to get him.
Great value pick.
I was so pumped when he fell down to us. I really like him a lot as a prospect, as even what we've seen in very limited, as you mentioned, snaps. I think that kid is going to turn out to be a really, really good tackle in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people want to kick him into guard. I'd pump the brakes on that. I think he's going to be a really good tackle. And it's the only people who want to kick him into the guard are just the guys hung up on his height. And I'm sorry, but he's an inch and a quarter under ideal height for an offensive tackle, something like that. It's something ridiculous.
He was 6'0", That's fine. That's fine. 6'0", whatever. And then again, what's kind of cool about this offensive line is we have guaranteed one position down. We have our center. If Fautanu's horrible at tackle, guess what? Have him replace Sayamalu. Bench McCormick. Don't extend Jones. Who cares? He could play all four spots that we need. So he's got to be average at least one. So that's kind of the good thing.
There's something wrong with Smitty. This is an inside joke from a different podcast.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say he's got a great lower base. I love that with tackles. That's what I love. I love guys with good lower bases with good footwork. I mean, look at Jordan Mailata. Look at Penei Sewell. So I would say ceiling wise, I mean, if we can get who's a really good right tackle, ceiling wise, if I can get Zach Tom out of him, it's good enough for me, brother.
Yeah. Let's switch to the other side now. So the guy who is going to be by far the more controversial of the two, Broderick Jones, is moving back to his natural position. He's talked about already feeling more comfortable over there, being in his natural position. Where do you think that this was the inside joke? Where do you think Broderick Jones is going to finish this year? Do you think we get average play out of him?
I think at this point it's stupid just to not say, hey, let's get average. I think it's stupid to sit here and just doubt and be negative. I mean, I don't know at the top of my, I'm going to be honest. I have been an absolute golf maniac recently. I haven't played a ton of it, done a lot of football research and whatnot. I know what I need to know for this, but I'm very curious to see. I'm going to bring it up in a few minutes when we move on. But what kind of his snap count looks like in the NFL? I know he's pretty much played a year and a half full as a starter, right? Pretty much an entire season and a half as a starter. He's started one entire game at left tackle. He wasn't great, but he wasn't horrible. I think it's just stupid to sit here and act like he's not going to be at least average. He's going into his third year, so he's going to be 24, I believe. He's going to be 24. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully, it's nice putting him on the same side as Sayamalu because that's going to help him out a little bit on some of these things. But again, it's all about Broderick, man. I mean, where this left tackle goes is okay. Where these left tackles can take us is where we go. These tackles in general, but more importantly with Broderick Jones, because I think it's pretty much a guarantee. Fautanu's floor is average. Have we all agreed as a fan base that his floor is average?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so if his floor is average, we know what Broderick Jones' floor looks like. If he can at least give us just middle of the pack, 16th best left tackle in the NFL, I'm fully confident in a 12-win team.
It just feels like Broderick Jones was a 3-year project coming out. Everybody wanted to bail on him right away. You and I have talked ad nauseum about the fact that they keep putting this guy out of position instead of just allowing him to develop in his natural position. I thought that was a mistake from day one. And that, it's something that Tomlin and his organization just continues to do with guys left and right. And I think he's a shining example of this. It feels good that he's already talking about, he's not a guy who's going to lose confidence. He's not a guy who, is necessarily going to have a lot to adjust to going back to left. He's just more comfortable. And if you feel more comfortable as a guy who's left tackle in the NFL, like, you need to feel really good about what you're doing on a daily basis because you're facing the best edge rushers in the world. So, the fact that he's at least saying the right things, And you have to assume this guy does take that step forward because of the fact that he's in his natural position. Like, we really need Pat Meyer to make this guy into the guy we drafted. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Trade it up.
He has to be. Yes, we have to. He has to turn this guy into the guy that we drafted. It's just the only way it's going to work. Or the offense, it'll get dicey. If he's anywhere near as bad or worse than Dan Moore last year, that's a scary notion. So, what is? I don't know what he's talking about on that one. Smitty, I don't know what you're talking about on this Call of Duty stream.
Broderick Jones he's got the mentality, he's got the physical, he's sure as hell got the movement ability. It's just a matter of, can you anchor the fuck down and just block a guy? Really?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna anchor down and not be a bitch? Like, that's what I know Fautanu will not. That's what I know Fautanu's weakness will not be. I don't know about Broderick though. And again, it goes back to what we said in the offseason, Trent. It was key after Dan Moore left to get a swing tackle, an actual legitimate one that could fucking play, because now we're sitting here. We got a 41-year-old quarterback who's coming off an an Achilles injury 2 years ago. And we're sitting here saying, okay, it's literally do or die with these tackles, like literally do or die with these tackles. If they suck, we go 5-11. If they're good, we go 11-5 or 5-12, 12-5, whatever the hell it is nowadays. But that's straight up the case. But I'm going to go on a limb and say, I'm going to say Broderick's going to be above average. I'm going to say it.
The sad thing is, if we get average play out of 2 tackles, it's going to be the best tackle play that we've had since, I mean, good Lord.
2018, Villanueva.
Yeah, Villanueva. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. That would be the best tackle play we've had. That's a long time. And that's just asking for average play. I'll say this too, though. If this thing pans out, we might have the most athletic line we've had in a really long time since DeCastro and Pouncey were on the offensive line together, because both tackles are extremely athletic. Zach Frazier's probably average. He's not great. He's average. Mason McCormick has a little bit of movement. He's kind of stiff. He doesn't have great movement. Sam Waller's getting a little old. But, man, your 2 tackles are going to be extremely athletic, and you could do a lot with that. I mean, we saw even times where they did bring Broderick Jones across the line from right to, play outside of Dan Moore in the tight end, spot and goal line situations. I mean, imagine pulling these guys out and let Caleb Johnson run behind those guys every once in a while. Like, I don't know. There's some intriguing things I think they can do if it pans out. It's just a huge if right now, because you have to see it play out on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I again, it goes back to what I said about the 12 personnel thing. I think a lot of times you will have a tight end there to aid Broderick and Dan Moore, or not Broderick and Dan Moore, Broderick and Fautanu, especially to start the year at least, right? You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's at least one thing that I can look forward to, is say, hey, we don't really need Pat Freiermuth to be an all-world blocker, and that's what pisses me off with the Freiermuth haters, is they're sitting there like, oh, well, he's a horrible blocker. He is. He's a terrible blocker. Let's be perfectly clear. He's a terrible blocker. If he could just take baby steps year after year, you're looking at least an average blocker with a great receiving threat. And I hope that Darnell Washington builds off last year, because he had a great year last year.
I agree. Let's touch. I want to touch on one more guy here before we switch, because we basically touched on most of the offense as it is. So, Caleb Johnson, 3rd round pick. How much did you buy into the 40 time versus what we saw on tape? His tape, he broke a ton of big runs.
I mean, what was his 40? What was his 40? I don't give a shit about 40s. I don't.
Yeah. I
mean, what was Puka Nakua's 40?
Terrible.
Right? What was Antonio Brown's 40? Right?
Terrible.
I mean, I don't give a fuck about 40. Unless it's a corner. Corners are really the only position I get nitpicky about it, like DBs.
Yeah.
I don't give a rat's ass about his 4.57, good enough for me. Le'Veon Bell ran like a 4.62. Todd Gurley ran a 4.54. So I think he's giving you literally Todd Gurley today. And that is an awesome feeling to have. Hopefully he can stay more healthy than Todd Gurley. But if you're getting the upside of Todd Gurley, you're getting an Offensive Player of the Year threat who can handle a workload. And then not to mention, we have that little 5'7" demon to come right behind him. with hopefully an improved offensive line and a definitely improved receiving core. So I'm excited with this running back group, man. I'm really excited. I think I'm just more excited to see a running back that fits Arthur Smith's scheme. We all knew Najee was not an Arthur Smith running back. Now, did we think he could adjust to it? I hoped he would, but I had a feeling in the back of my head like, he's a downhill gap kind of back. He ain't gonna do too great, and he wasn't too great. So it sucked, but I think I'm really excited to see Caleb Johnson in it, like an actual Arthur Smith schematic demon.
So I'm going to bring this one up because we talked about this one on the Steelers Sanctuary podcast. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I am crazy high on Caleb Johnson right now. I'm like, probably need to talk myself down a little bit. I'm that high on Caleb Johnson right now. How do you see the running back split in carries this year versus what we saw last year? Because we probably saw more 60-40 from Najee getting 60 and Jalen getting closer to 40. You hope it's the same? I don't see a reason why not. I have convinced myself that Caleb Johnson should get 70% of the carries.
That's
he
fine.
Should end up at 1,500 yards and like 10 touchdowns this season. Dude, I'm like offensive rookie of the year candidate, high on him.
We don't know what the hell we're getting with this offensive line. I would say if I had to predict this very second, 1,240 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Oh, we're close on touchdowns then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're getting 1,500 with a two-back committee. Not in nowadays committees, man. And nowadays is how they do it nowadays. You don't really get a bunch of 1,500-yard backs. I mean,
no, I just see the marriage between him and Arthur Smith being so freaking good that he washes out Jalen Warren.
How many guys ran for 1,500 last year? 3, 2?
Yeah, Henry and Saquon, I think, might have been the only two.
Right? I mean, Josh Jacobs might have ran for 1,500, but
he was close. I can't remember where he's at.
I mean, right? Like probably the fourth and fifth best or leading rushers were at like 1,280, 1,305. So I don't know. It's tough nowadays, but I mean, if that's the way it has to be, I just don't want us to do it the way we did Najee, where we just run him down his first 2 years, like run him into the ground, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what a committee looks like. Now, did I think Warren had a bad year last year? Absolutely. I thought he had a little bit of a down year, but I'm more intrigued with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Which one wants to improve as a pass blocker? Because Caleb Johnson, his biggest thing in scouting was he's an iffy pass blocker.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren's not a very good pass blocker. So I'm sitting here questioning who's going to be our third down back. So
I disagree with that. I actually think Jalen Warren's a better pass blocker than what like PFF and some of these sites are ranking him at. I think he does fine for the most part. I'm more interested to see how they filter Kenneth Gainwell into that third down role with his receiving ability and how the split goes between he and Jalen Warren in that same role. I think there's a role to have all three of these guys play.
For sure. I think Gainwell's probably realistically you're going to get 20% of snaps out of him. And that would be like third and extremely long and kick return. I really don't see any more than that, though, especially with Caleb Johnson and his pedigree. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say pedigree, but his like rep, if you will. And then also, Jalen Warren, it being his fourth year with the team. I don't really see it.
Yeah. How about on the defensive side of the ball? I think Darius Slay is probably the biggest move outside of the draft in this offseason. How did you feel about Darius Slay coming over?
I think it gives us our best cornerback group since 2019, if that's what you're asking me. I think PZ. I think, and listen, I remember telling you this especially going into last offseason. I said, watch this JPJ sophomore slump. It's coming. And boy, it came. Dude, it was bad. And we know it was bad. But I think there's adjustments that he can make. I think he's still kind of on the raw side of things. We have a new DB coach, which is great. I think Darius Slay brings a lot of different things. He brings a veteran presence. He brings the ability to play that zone, that off man that we're looking for. He's been known to be a ball hawk in his career. And most importantly, he helps out our safeties. And boy, do we have a good group of safeties. I think Minka's coming back for vengeance this year. I think Deshaun Elliott's coming off a fantastic year. And I think that Juan Thornhill signing was fucking fantastic. I think what he brings to the table is great. It is so much better than what we got last year with KZ, so much better than the year before with KZ and Neal, so much better than the year before that with Edmonds. I really do like what Juan Thornhill brings to the table. It's just overall a veteran group of starters with a lot of experience and overall just kind of you're looking at two ball hawks, a demon tackler, and kind of just a guy that just covers everything. I mean, Darius Slay, I think, has been like perennially a top 10 PFF coverage guy, like perennial. And he's been in the league for like 11 years. I think he's on year 11, year 12. So I can't wait. I think Slay is probably my favorite newcomer.
Yeah, me too. And
Thornhill.
there's a lot of.
I think Thornhill.
See, I was really, really high on the Slay signing, and I know a lot of people get kind of scared off by him being 34 years old. This dude was still like a top 20 corner last year. I mean,
he had a 76.5 coverage grade last year. Do you know how many Steelers were even close to that? Guess what? None.
Nobody.
Not one was even close. I don't know if we had a single player break 70, and it might have been Corey Trice off of like 2 games. I don't think we had a single player break 70. Maybe Deshaun Elliott, because I know Fitzy was like 67.5. But dude, I'll take that all day.
I'm more not concerned, but I'm more interested to see if this defensive philosophy changes now that you have Slay and JPJ rather than Dante Jackson, who is not good in man coverage. He's been mostly a zone cover corner most of his career. Will they play more press man coverage with Slay in the mix and allow Joey Porter Jr. to actually be the corner that you drafted him to be? Or if they're still going to do this, 7 yards off the ball and kind of bail techniques all day long.
I think you'll see a different alignment from the safeties. I don't think you'll see Minka being 22 yards off the ball ever again. I don't know though. I don't really know what is it? Darius Alexander, who the hell's our DB coach? I don't really know what he brings to the table. I don't really know like what he Gerald Alexander, I think.
Gerald.
I don't know like what he does, what he's good for. I think he like prioritizes safeties though. I think he was like a safeties guy in on the Raiders and the Dolphins, I think. I don't really know. I think the way that our outside corners play is going to be very dependent on how confident we are in our nickel guys, Corey Kent and Beanie Bishop specifically. I think those two are going to be kind of the ones who dictate what we do on the outside and on the back end for that matter. But I'm really excited to see that 3 safety package with Thornhill, man. That's the biggest thing I can't wait to see in training camp on the defensive side for sure.
Think Thornhill stays deep and they bring Deshaun Elliott up front
Where does Minka
in that
go?
Package. Minka stays deep too. A lot of those three safety packages. Both safeties are playing deep and usually bring one of them up. And it's been Elliott sometimes. A lot of times last year. Minka would come in sometimes too, but like.
Yeah, I mean that ideally, yeah. I think Thornhill brings more upside on the back end than KZ did when you had Minka and KZ back there with Elliott up in the box. But yeah, I would say for sure Thornhill, because Thornhill was a free safety in Kansas City and in Cleveland, so I don't see why not.
Would you have liked to see the team make a move at the nickel corner? Because we really didn't do anything. I mean, we brought it's basically they're handing it over to Beanie Bishop right now. They brought in Brandon Eccles, who played I think more outside than nickel, but they're probably going to slide him in.
He's a practice squad body with some special teams upside. I think that, and I hate that the casual fan doesn't understand that Beanie Bishop was right where you want to be as a slot corner. He was just average. I'm not asking for Mike Hilton. You're not always going to get Mike Hilton. You're not going to get Trent McDuffie moving him outside. You're not going to get Taron Johnson every fucking team. If you can just get average, if I can just get average out of Beanie Bishop, I have no problem with that. If I can get average out of Corey Kent, I have no problem with that. I have absolutely no issue with that. If Corey Trice can rotate in and just be average on the outside, I have absolutely no question with it. But I am hammering home the same thing I am with tackles on the offense. I think the nickel guy, the slot guys on the defense kind of dictate kind of what we do in the coverage scheme.
Yeah.
But again,
listen,
I'm cool with Bishop. I'm cool with it. I think he brings average, and I'm cool with average. At a slot corner position, average is totally cool with me, dude.
I think that a lot of the fan base doesn't like the Beanie Bishop undrafted free agent thing, but man, we talked about him a lot.
Mike Hilton was undrafted.
I love Beanie Bishop. I am so high on Beanie Bishop. He never should have came out for Sutton. Cam Sutton was god awful. Beanie Bishop should have stayed playing as a starter the entire season. I thought he was getting progressively better as the season went on. His coverage, I mean, you follow PFF much closer than I do. His coverage grade was increasing every single week. Like, he was playing better. And I mean, I thought that was a huge mistake.
Until Dallas, sure. But who the hell is going to guard CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. He's torching everybody. That's why he got paid.
Right. Yeah. I think this is wishful thinking. Maybe Pittsburgh learned their lesson last year doing that. Just completely not playing Beanie Bishop the back end of the year and only playing Sutton. Maybe they've learned that, like, hey, we could just go with Bishop. Or, frankly, I'm excited to see this Corey Kent kid. What he brings to the table. I know he's an athletic freak and he's a special teamer, but I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. Eccles, again, I think Eccles is simply a camp body. I don't think I'm going to predict him to make any of my 53-man rosters that I'm going to have 2 that I'm going to put out. I don't think I'll have him in either. But who knows? I'm excited to see the rotation. I think we might see. I don't see a reason why not have Peyton Wilson and Carson Bruner. Well, the one thing about Carson Bruner that people don't understand, his three last years at Washington, coverage grade, 84, 87, 86. Right? I know it's college and you're going against, former or future insurance salesman, but regardless, I mean, that's pretty damn good average in college for coverage grade. I wouldn't be shocked to see him coming in playing I'm not saying slot corner, like he's not going to be guarding CeeDee Lamb, but it wouldn't shock me to see him covering like Carson Bruner, a guy like Carson Bruner covering a guy like Mike Gesicki, or who else do we play a bunch? Mark Andrews. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I'm more excited to see the rotation as opposed to the starter, because I think it will be Bishop.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the starter too, and I'm fine with it, to be perfectly honest with you. I there's a lot of the fan base that's upset about it and thinks that the team doesn't really put a lot of stock into the slot corner, and I think Beanie's just, there's something there. I mean, I think he led the nation in passes defended when he came out of WVU. Doesn't get a lot of interceptions, but look, when he was in the games last year, he got interceptions in the NFL. I mean, he was fantastic last year. There's something there with that kid. He was too small to play on the outside, and I think that hurt him in the draft. But I really, really think that there's something there for Beanie Bishop to continue to build off of. I like the kid. I think he's a solid tackler too. I don't think he's bad in any phase that you're going to ask this kid to play. Yeah,
and again, the problem is with the Steelers, and the Steelers do this with everybody. They want every quarterback to be Ben. They want every receiver to be AB. They want every slot corner to be fucking Mike Hilton. It's just not going to happen. So I think he's fine.
I want to talk about some more different moves that we made in the offseason in a different show. But for now, I want to talk about something that kept coming up. Obviously, the wide receiver 2 thing is interesting, and there's going to be a move made in trades and trade value, and people are talking about giving up a first-round pick for a guy like Terry McLaurin. I mean, realistically, what would you think a trade value for Terry McLaurin would be? Because I want to put this into perspective for people, because there's people that think he legitimately garners a first-round pick in a trade. I think they're way off.
No. He was drafted in 2017, and he's expensive, so he's at least 30.
Yeah.
I don't know. When did he get extended? When did he sign a new contract? Has he signed one?
He's got basically this year and then a void year, I think, is what is left. I looked the other day. I think he's making 25.4.
So he's 31. Let's be cute and say $25 million a year. He's 31, making $25 million a year, and has essentially 1 year left on his contract. I don't know, a third. A third. I don't know who the hell would, in the right mind, say a first. I would say a third.
A ton of people on X keep talking about a first, and I'm like,
They need
number one,
a third.
Yeah, you cannot trade a first round pick for a guy.
Maybe.
You just pulled DK Metcalf for a 2.
Maybe a second if you get like a fourth back, but fuck no, dude. Nothing more than a third. If it's me, I'm not. If I'm Omar Khan, nothing more than a third. Here, you get. I'll take the third. I'll give them back the third rounder we gave to Dallas for Pickens. That's it. He's 31, making $25 million a year, and his contract goes up before 2027. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I send this clip on X to whomever decided to say that, because I would say nothing more.
I'm telling you that there is a lot of people who legitimately think this guy's going to pull this massive like trade bargain, and I'm like, first of all, here's the thing. Like, the days of receivers pulling a first round value is becoming much, much more rare, because there's so many of these guys coming into the drafts that turn out to be really good receivers. So you don't want to throw away a first round pick on a wide receiver when you can get, a really quality guy in the second and third round. I mean, I just don't see why you would do that. Number two, if you could go through the list of names in today's NFL of guys who could get a number one right now, there's a handful. Right? I mean, Justin Jefferson, absolutely. CD Lamb, absolutely. You could go down, some of the big name guys. Jamar Chase, he'd be another guy you could talk about. They'd get a first round pick.
I have 8.
But like,
I would go Jefferson, Jamar, CD, Amon-Ra, Puka, Nico Collins.
You've already lost me on those.
Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr.
I would.
Maybe Marvin Harrison. Actually, no, I don't think Nico Collins would be deserving of that. So
I don't either. I'm not even sure I'd give him Amon-Ra a first.
I would.
I would think he's a second round value.
The thing is, he just signed a deal. That's the one thing he's got going for him, is he's got 4 years left on his current contract. So it's like, I'm willing to give him 4 years of that money, or I'm willing to go 4 years without worrying about having to pay him again. But it's still, that was being nice. That was 8 guys of being nice. I would say probably 4 or 5 of those I myself would be willing to. But
I would definitely go your top 3. I'm probably pumping the brakes on Amon-Ra, and I think I'm done, and I'm out at that point.
You don't think Puka?
Not for a first round pick.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he's part of a. Don't get me wrong. I hate the product label, but he has an advantage with the Mike or the McVay offense. Great quarterback. He's a recipient of that. So I don't know. I don't think those guys are top of the market guys that if you put the plug and play them into another offense, they're going to be the same as what they are right now. And Amon-Ra falls into that category a little bit to me, although I think he's more of a complete player than Puka is, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just don't think that the casual fan base thinks that there's 20 receivers that garner a first round grade, and it's just not even remotely close to that. And
it's a dime a dozen position. It really is.
Now, if you were to shop TJ Watt, do you think we get a first round pick for TJ Watt?
Wow.
Because I've heard people make an argument we should hold out and get 2 first. I'm like, you ain't getting 2 first for TJ Watt.
You're not getting 2. No.
Ain't no way.
You're not getting 2. You could get 1 from a contender. I would say Buffalo would give a 1. Philly would give a 1.
I threw Detroit in there.
Baltimore, Detroit. KC might give a 1.
Yeah.
I would say
it would have to be a win now franchise.
Washington. So I would say there's 7. I'll be nice and go 10 because my brain's kind of foggy. I would say 10 teams. 10 teams would give you a first for him. But realistically, if it's not one of those 10 teams, you're getting 2 seconds and a 5th, 2 seconds and a 7th.
Yeah.
maybe a second, a player, and a third. Like I don't know. Like hypothetical scenario, Kansas City will give you a first and a third.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville will probably give you 2 seconds and I don't know, 2 seconds and Anton Harrison. I don't know, 2 seconds and Kalavion Chasen or Devin Lloyd. I don't know. Andre Cisco. I don't know. I don't think. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you're not getting a first from more than like 8 or 9 teams.
Are you in the camp?
Who said 2 first? He's 31.
Listen. Okay, so a lot of this started from a Mark Madden article he wrote. He talked about franchising or trading T.J. Watt, and
that guy blocked me.
The comment section had so many people talking about drawing 2 first-round picks for T.J. Watt, and I'm like, nah. If this was his 22 sack season and he was 22 years old and he was making $150,000 a year, you might draw 2 first-round picks for T.J. Watt. But that's not the reality of the situation. There's just no way in the world you're going to draw 2 first-round picks for this guy. It's like, not even plausible.
4 years ago, but you got to understand he's 31 and a half. He gets hurt like every year and he's on a contract year. No chance.
Yeah. Are you in the camp of wanting to extend TJ Watt right now?
Oh, fuck. I don't know, Trent. What kind of question is that, dude? I love him. Yeah.
Agreed.
Second, third. Didn't I just say second, third? Yeah. I would. I love him. I love TJ. I would.
Yeah,
the only reason. Okay. Let me be clear. Okay. First of all, if say we still had Pickens and we didn't have any like that first round, second round armor that we do now, I would say no, trade him. But we have a lot of armor to just, or not armor. What's the word? Like we have a lot of shit.
The arsenal. Like an arsenal of picks.
I'll be white trash. I'll say shit. We have a lot of shit to trade up in the first round next year for a quarterback. If we didn't have that in our arsenal, though, I would say absolutely not. Trade him for a second and a fifth today. But we do have a lot in our arsenal for next year's class to trade up if we wanted to. Now, let's be perfectly clear. There's a very good chance, say we do go 11-6 and we win in the divisional round and we get like the 24th overall draft pick. There's still a very good chance that like we could still get a damn good quarterback in the first round. Yeah. I mean, next year's class is deep. I mean,
super deep.
At best, you get Cade Klubnik. At work, well, that's just my bias. Realistically, looking at the class right now, at best you're getting Lenoris Sellers, and at worst you're getting Garrett Nussmeier. Like, I'm cool with both of those, and I'm cool with everyone in between. Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Arch Manning if he comes. I don't know if he's. I think Nico is available because he redshirted. I think he's a redshirt sophomore this year, so he will be eligible. But I'm cool with any of those options.
Yeah, I have been in the. I keep saying it. I feel like we're in the same situation this year that we were in last year with Cam Hayward, that TJ Watt. You know, coming off of a down year, and everybody's just focused on the raw numbers and not understanding kind of like. Our defensive coordinator, and more specifically Mike Tomlin, just allowed this guy to get double teamed, chipped, triple teamed all season long. The sack numbers were going to go down because he's not exactly dynamic as far as a pass rusher. He's pretty limited in the moves. He's a dip and rip. I mean, he's dip and rip all day. He'll throw a bull rush in there.
He averages 14 sacks a year.
He's really good at the move that he uses, but he doesn't exactly run 5 different moves out there. Like, he dips and rips, and he wins off the line of scrimmage. And that's how he's had his sack totals every year.
I mean, Rory McIlroy's not going to fade the golf ball when he drives it, but it still works. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking him for being, a one-trick pony. They can wreck my career. Nico, listen, I think Nico did wreck his career going to UCLA. I'll be honest with you. That's going to be a rough
Teach
sell.
Teach their own.
But no, I'm completely fine paying TJ. I would do a 3-year deal. I would definitely pay him, 40 and a half and have that third year be an easy out. I'd front load the contract too. Give him his money. And then if he falls off the table, easy out.
I would go 3 years, 105 up front, and then like a 4th year option to make it even
longer.
I would make it an option to go a 4th year for about a totality of 130. So 4 years, 130 gives him $33.3 million a year. I'm not giving him any more. I don't see a reason to do that. Like, he's 31. He gets hurt every fucking year, and he just had a down year, and he's on a contract year. Wait, did I mention he's 31?
Yeah. Bob has been pushing this notion of just completely resetting the market to screw over Micah Parsons and the Cowboys.
Yeah, but I care about my team's cap space, bro.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know, man. The TJ Watt contract, that's been obviously a big talk right now, but I think I'd pay him. I'd pay him his 40 and just be done with it. That's just where I'm at.
I don't disagree. I'd pay him.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, that's about all I had for tonight. Did you have anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, for all of you watching, sorry for the little bit of a glitch there in the chat, but as always, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and we will see you next time.
All right. See you later, man.
See you, Colin.
Great show, man.
I can't end this.
Well, he's not weird or anything, is he? No. No, he's totally normal.
I think you should be working at the snack bar. You better relax, Bob.
I mean, normal for us.
All right, let's go. Now you've had enough.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Okay, crazy guy. I'm gonna go home now.